we've automated hours worth of work, in some cases 40 hours worth of work down to like 15 minutes, but it's still 15 minutes. And so it still took somebody to go review what was created. Those headlines you see about 95% of AI projects fail, like we're actually seeing if you pick the right use case and do it the right way, that these can be very effective.
Do you ever hear the reply, hey, why would I hire you or why would I ask for your help when I can just give it as a prompt to some AI tool? I would never trust an AI to auto approve a financial transaction for me. It might be 10 years from now. I just cannot.
The people that are really proficient at utilizing these tools and layering on that expertise and skills and that kind of human knowledge that we have, I mean, they're the ones that are going to be head and shoulders above anybody else. We got to keep the human in all of this and make sure that we are putting eyes on code, we're reviewing what we're writing, because everybody has access to the same tools now. You look at LinkedIn now and everybody's writing AI articles and posting stuff out there and it all looks the exact same. It's the same cadence, same punctuation.
So Devin in DevOps is not losing his job over AI.
Yeah, I don't think so, not yet.
So you're saying we've got a hammer, but we can't use it to paint a wall. Make sure you find a nail.
Keep us unique in our jobs, and hopefully AI, just like I said, just enhances what we do versus takes it away.
Welcome everyone. Today I'm joined by Justin Shanon, who is the vice president and he spent his career in tech. So Justin, thanks for joining me. Starting with that, I don't want to skip over your introduction, but I think more important than that, we would be interested in knowing, like you've seen technology change. Let's not talk about AI for a bit. Let's talk about what changes you've seen when you started your career, how things have changed, and what has still stayed the same.
Yeah, so I've been in technology for a little over 20 years. Just after kind of the dot-com craze, .NET had just come out, going into the late 2000s, early teens, going into cloud computing. Lots of shifts over the last 20 years. And obviously, AI has been one of the biggest that we've probably all seen in our careers. And I think we're all still just trying to figure out, like, how can we best adopt this, utilize it. There's tons of articles out there about how great it is and how in many cases it's not so great and we're not getting the ROI we think. And I think there's a lot of companies who are still trying to figure out, like, what do we do with this? How do we use it? And so that, being here at CoPoint and, my career has been helping clients in consulting figure that out. And it's been a really fun challenge for us and myself. And I think it's those people that have the experience that were kind of here prior to AI and have learned the fundamentals and foundations of delivering solutions and development, that can really harness the value that AI brings. It's just, I mean, it's just a really great opportunity, I think, for a lot of people to use this to become more effective. And but at the same time, still relying on those fundamentals that we've learned over the past 20 years to make sure it's done the right way, not just the fast way and the easy way.
You brought up that you started when the .com was just booming in, and then you had .net come in. So that was roughly, you're saying, 20 years ago or so. Things change rapidly. Every 5 years, you look back and you're like, hey, what's that? So you had .com, and then it was just first it was like, hey, it's for the rich. It's only if you are very special, then you have a website. And then it got to a point where if you're alive, you need a website. Over the past 5 years, what have you seen changing drastically?
Well, I think just the awareness around AI, obviously. I mean, AI has been around for a very long time. I mean, they've been working on this for many decades, but it's really just become mainstream, I'd say, over the past 2 or 3 years. like I said, a lot of companies are still just trying to figure out like how do we really harness this and use the value from it. Just like you said, just like websites and applications and like going beyond just like a WordPress or a word processing or an Excel document and like really building tools that enterprises can use. People had to figure that out, and cloud isn't another parallels that that came out and was like, okay, well, we got to move off premises and onto the cloud, and how do we keep people connected, and how do we secure this? And so we're in that same early adopter um, mindset where I think people are very skeptical. They hear the buzz, but you go to use it, and if you don't know how to use it, it doesn't perform like you want it to. And so I think a lot of companies are just still trying to figure out, like, is this something we want to invest in? Is it a waste of money? And we're definitely seeing, um, if it's done the right way, that there's a ton of value you can get out of it. It may not be exactly where we ultimately want it to go. It's going to continue getting stronger and better, but there's really some value that you can get out of this if you do it the right way.
So you brought up right way a couple of times, and you mentioned somewhere that you want to focus on right versus
Mm.
fast. Like, can you dig into that a bit?
Yeah, so a big thing for us here at CoPoint is making sure that we have kind of eyes on everything that we do. And I'm sure many of us have seen that, you can go out and go to Claude Code or go to Lovable or Replit or any of these AI platforms out there and prompt it and say, I want some application to do something. It may not be and likely won't be using best practices and um, that like I said, kind of going back to fundamentals like design driven development and solid engineering principles that make sure that it's a scalable solution, it's secure, it's going to perform like you want it to perform, and it's going to be an enterprise ready application versus just this proof of concept that we threw out there and hope that it's going to work. And so for us, like we built in guardrails into our applications, into our development processes that make sure that we're still following those best practices and principles that we've learned over the past 20 or 30 years. And that's kind of baked into these tools if you use them the right way. And so we're still, it's not, we're just not creating a slop or this random application that's just a bunch of random code thrown together. It's really still using foundational principles that are going to make sure it can work within an enterprise and scale and be secure and all the things that you want to make sure you've built in the application.
How does that apply to you? Right versus fast. You talked about how it would apply to when you're delivering a solution to a customer. But as a leader, how has AI changed the way you work?
I think in a lot of ways it's certainly made me faster at what I do, and but I use that lightly because, like I said, I mean, we could certainly go prompt everything and create a bunch of things, and I can just go deliver that. So I wouldn't say that it's like completely changed my job and I don't do things the same way, but it certainly helps me create faster. Things that would have taken a day or a week, are now a couple hours or a couple days, but it still takes me a couple hours and a couple days. It's not just an instant tool. It's like, hey, it's going to give me everything I need right away. And that's for us at CoPoint and things we're trying to uh instill in all of our people is that like we got to keep the human in all of this, and make sure that we are putting eyes on code. We're reviewing what we're writing because everybody has access to the same tools now. And we don't want everybody, I mean, we're all very unique and we all have different experiences and skills that we bring to the table. Let's make sure we're putting that into our work. So definitely can move a lot faster than I did before, but still have to make sure that I'm putting the right effort and like my experience and spin on things to make sure that it's uniquely me and the experience I have versus just something everybody can do.
So this ties into what you were speaking of earlier, that the fundamentals are still important, be it technology, be it leadership. The fundamentals need to be strong. Are there any skills that you think are getting obsolete or less valued because of AI?
Yeah, so we certainly don't have to know everything anymore, which is nice. For example, we were just having a conversation yesterday at lunch, and we have one of our clients that has a Visual Fox Pro application that's like 20 years old and kind of hanging on by a thread, and we're trying to figure out, do they continue to maintain and support this, or would it be faster just to? And we don't necessarily have to, but we can go in and with AI, like, understand the technology, like, AI fully understands Fox Pro but, again, coming back to those principles and understanding proper development techniques and engineering and architecture, we can build this in a way that is a more modern technology that we do know, and so we don't have to have somebody that knows everything about every technology that's out there, but using those fundamentals, we can still build and and replace and move forward with more modern technologies. So, I don't know if it's necessarily like a skill that is decremented, but it just changes, how we might think about problems and where we want to focus, which is on those fundamentals. I think that's the more important part.
Yeah. So is it correct to say that when hard drives came out, people were like, books are not needed. You can store everything in the hard drive now. And now it's to a point that, hey, you don't need memory at all because, you can just ask for AI tool to
Yeah.
do that for you.
Yeah, that's true. And I think at the same time, it's like we don't want to get away from some of those things. Like, I still love picking up a book and reading it sometimes, even though I have access to every book ever known out there on the internet. I think that's still important for us to go back to. We still need to be writing. We still need to be out there talking to people and having conversations and going to have a cup of coffee. Like those things, I guess, I mean, even outside of technology, like those foundational things is we do as humans, like those are still very important. And we don't want to get away from that. But we don't have to know everything. And that's where this can fill in a lot of those gaps for us and still make us productive in a lot more areas than maybe our background or experience gives us. It fills, like I said, it fills in those gaps on our knowledge. But if we have the foundations, then and like understand like principles, then it really allows us to like we don't have to know everything. We can AI kind of helps fill in those gaps for the like those the things we don't know about.
Right. You also mentioned that everyone has access to the same tools now. And like more than ever before, I think there must be pressure on you saying when you go to say a client or anyone who is a customer or a prospect, and do you ever hear the reply, hey, why would I hire you or why would I ask for your help when I can just give it as a prompt to some AI tool?
Yeah, I mean that's a very common thing now. I mean, it's like I mean, I think that probably same. I mean, that same question was asked of us even before AI, and like what makes us uniquely different. I think it all comes back to our experience, the way we work, our fundamentals as a person and as a company, um, and I don't think that's really changed with AI. The fact now that because everybody has the same baseline, like we have to step up and make sure that we're taking that experience and skills that we have and using AI to make it even more powerful. But for us, like relationships are one of the biggest things for like partnerships, one of our core values, and that hasn't changed and that won't ever change. So we have to make sure that we consider that and like that's what makes us unique, and not just like hey everybody can go in and throw something in Claude or OpenAI and generate some output.
When I was starting my career, before I actually started it, I had this fear of there's so many softwares that are available out there. Why would anyone hire me? What can I build that's not already built? I think that fear looks very, very small compared to the few folks who came out of COVID and then, they just got into this, you have, been promoted to now AI developers and go figure. So someone starting their career right now, who is probably afraid, what would be your advice to them?
Yeah, I tell this to a lot of people, whether they're in IT or marketing or accounting or any job that's out there, is just to go and use these tools. All of them work a little bit differently. Obviously, every week there's new models that come out and they change how you interact with them. And the more you get comfortable with understanding how to work with them, how to ask questions, how to get responses, um, the better you're going to be. And that's that's going to be, I think, the people that are really proficient at utilizing these tools and layering on that expertise and skills and that kind of human knowledge that we have. I mean, they're the ones that are going to be head and shoulders above anybody else. I think that's one of the most important things we can do is just playing around, trying different things. You hear an idea, let's go create a personal agent on my home laptop and just start playing around with things to learn how to interact.
So let's talk a bit about CoPoint. Where do you think CoPoint is headed over the next few years?
We joke a lot here that AI really disrupts every industry out there. Obviously, consulting being a big part of that, and we spend a lot of our time figuring out like where does consulting go in the next 6 to 12 months to 5 years. How do we continue to stay relevant and productive and helpful to our clients? Um, I think if we were to stop developing AI today and no more advancements came out for the next 10 years, like there is still a lot of adoption left to be done across most companies out there. There's a very wide spectrum of implementation of AI across organizations. Like I said, there's a lot of companies that are very skeptical of it. They've tried different things and hasn't worked out. And so I think there's still a ton of opportunity out there in getting people familiar with it, comfortable enough to use it in their day-to-day jobs, and then really implementing like impactful solutions that aren't just chatbots that are out there. So for us, it's really exciting because we can, we know how to build custom software. We've been doing that for a very long time, and now we can do that so much faster. And I think we've unlocked some really powerful tools and processes that allow us to really actually create valuable implementations of AI for companies. And so, those headlines you see about 95% of AI projects fail, like we're actually seeing if you pick the right use case and do it the right way, that these can be very effective. And we're seeing a lot of really good use cases of AI that we're implementing. So we're really excited about where things are going to go. I think there's we're just at the very beginning. It's going to continue to get better, but really just getting people comfortable with the use of AI and how to what are the right use cases, and hopefully helping a lot of companies come up to speed and implement those.
I'm sure everyone is aware of the skepticism regarding AI, how and where to use it. And you yourself said that, that there's this belief, I haven't checked the numbers recently, but 95% of the AI projects fail. What are you doing differently to make sure that it doesn't?
I think the biggest thing is making sure you're choosing the right project for AI. So many people have this big buzzword about, hey, we got to get AI. We got to figure out how to adopt this and really utilize it. Everybody in the company needs to be using it. But so many times we're trying to automate a really bad process. We don't have a good data foundation, and it's just not a good use case for it. And so people blame AI as the problem, but the problem was not choosing the right use case to begin with. So I think that's a really important part. That's one of the things that we help our clients with is vetting those ideas and things that we may want, might want to be used, used to automate or replicate a problem or fix a problem, um, that really aren't the right use for it. So that's probably the number one thing I would say is making sure this is the best use case for AI. And then like what's the true value you would get out of this? And are you really just automating a bad process or solution? And is there really another way to think about it? So many times we've had conversations where like, hey, we want to go down this route, use AI. And it's like, well, what if you just fixed that process and just got rid of this manual effort, and just built a tool to automate that has nothing to do with AI. So I think that's probably the number one place to start is identifying the right solutions.
So you're saying we've got a hammer, but we can't use it to paint a wall. Make sure you
Sure.
find a nail. All right. Uh, as AI evolves rapidly, and you wake up and a new thing has come out, how do you ensure that your company stays in sync with that?
Yeah, I think this goes back to what I was talking about before of just trying different things and playing with these new technologies. Like, if you have some people in IT that could dedicate an hour or 2 hours throughout the week, to try, hey, here's kind of this new idea I found, or this new skill that Claude has, or this new open source developer agent that could make us more productive, and just trying those different things and making sure that you figure out, like, get people proficient at those things and then see how you could start to incorporate those into your organization. That's kind of where we're at, I think, right now for a lot of companies, of just like trying things and playing with it and seeing what works and seeing what doesn't fix. Like, start small, get an implementation in place, and then kind of build from there. But I think if you have more people playing with it, not only in IT but the business as well, they start to learn from it, know how to work with it, learn from each other, and then it just slowly kind of grows from there.
So let's talk a bit about what they expect from AI versus what the reality is. Give us a few examples that you may have
Yeah.
seen recently.
We've I think a lot of people expect AI just do the job. And like, I prompt it, I get the response I need, and I move on and it does the job for me. Or I create an agent, I ask it to do something, I come back, it's got perfect results. And I don't think we're quite there yet. And I think it's gonna take some time to really, for a lot of these agents to get good enough to adapt to different jobs and different situations and really come up with the exact right solution to a problem or a process. And so that kind of comes back to this human in the loop that we always talk about. We've had a few different projects now that we've automated hours worth of work, in some cases 40 hours worth of work down to like 15 minutes. But it's still 15 minutes. And so it still took somebody to go review what was created, make sure it was accurate, make some minor adjustments. Uh, but it didn't fully erase the work that somebody had to do. Now, it was a lot of busy work that they didn't really want to be doing, and that wasn't a good use of their time. The 40 hours that it might have taken, it still is going to take some time for somebody to come back and review. And that's just, I think, where we're at today with the technology that's in place. So full automation in a lot of cases is going to be, I think, isn't is the expectation, but doesn't always deliver that. But I think you can still save a lot of time with a lot of these tools.
Right. So expectation is good with the job, and I just expect it to be done.
Yeah.
Right. Reality is there still needs to be a human in the loop. But what are a few AI trends that you think are overhyped right now?
Well, we've been talking about these concepts of agents for a long time. Over a year ago, of his last April, I had an article about the frontier, the next frontier, this frontier agents that would kind of sit alongside an employee and kind of be their assistant. And maybe it starts with you've got one assistant, and then that becomes two or three, depending on the jobs you need. And I think because we haven't fully perfected this and they can't necessarily go off and just do a task without any oversight completely. It depends on what that is, but in a lot of cases, there's always just some nuances to the jobs we're trying to perform that we haven't gotten to that place where we've got these fully autonomous agents that employees that are reporting to to these team members and doing their jobs for them. Um, I think we're getting there, but it's still going to take some time before we fully can build out systems that can not be monitored and can just kind of go off and run without that human interaction.
So Devin in DevOps is not losing his job over a AI,
Yeah, I don't think so, not yet.
right? Uh, I know it's all changing as we speak. But what do you think would happen in a few months from now, or maybe a few years from now, with the way AI is getting better, but not getting the job done in the first go?
I'm hopeful that over time that it does a much better job of getting the job done right, and there's just less and less human in the loop required. I don't think that necessarily in a lot of cases takes people's jobs away. It just takes away the work that they didn't necessarily want to do to begin with. Some of that busy work that is not as effective, but has to get done. And so hopefully, yeah, it's just less and less of that human in the loop. We these agents can figure out things for themselves better. Um, and I think with the going back to putting in the right solutions that are scalable um, and secure and have the right guardrails in place, that we could start to trust these agents and AI solutions better, that they're going to act properly, do the right things, and not allow people access to the wrong information or send information to the wrong people or just do the job incorrectly. So I think it's going to be an incremental um, lift from here, over the next few years, and we'll just continue to get better. But hopefully, it's less and less of those monotonous jobs that um, we have to we have to do as employees that we can hand off and then go focus on things that are really valuable to the organization.
We are talking purely about software in IT in different fields. Say, uh, I'm just gonna, bombard you with an example which might sound bizarre. I would never trust an AI to auto approve a financial transaction for me. It might be 10 years from now. I just cannot. So, like, that is way bizarre. But what are smaller examples that you may have seen where some people think that, hey, AI can surely do that, but it performs terribly?
Well, I think in a lot of cases, even just writing, we're seeing, you look at LinkedIn now and everybody's writing AI articles and posting stuff out there and it all looks the exact same. It's the same cadence, same punctuation, the way it talks. Yeah, it does a pretty good job of helping you think through problems and putting something together that sounds reasonable and makes sense. But again, everybody's doing the same thing. So this is where it's really important for us to like put our spin on it, put our inject our experience and skills into that conversation and not just come up with what not just use exactly what comes out of whatever you prompted. It's gotten better. It's going to continue to evolve and get better. But again, everybody's got the same tools and we have access to the same thing. So why would I read something you wrote that you just put a 2 sentence prompt in? Um, where I could really use my brain and come up with something that nobody else could come up with.
You started with our experience distinguishes us, and you said the fundamentals are very important. For any organization right now, if they want to stay successful, if this was 20 years ago, you probably would have said, hey, make sure you have an e commerce website. What's the equivalent of that today that you would suggest to an organization who have yet to start on an AI transformation journey?
Yeah, I think at minimum, everybody in the organization needs access to AI. We're seeing so many companies that are restricting it, and people are using personal accounts You've got company information going out to who knows where, and all of that's can be used for training, and you have no control over where that information is going, how it's being used. So it goes back to that. At minimum, we're all still learning. It's for AI to be kind of mainstream. It's just been a few years, and so many people are just trying to figure out how to use it. And the more they use it, the better they're going to get at it, and the better they're going to be at their jobs, and the more ideas that are going to come out of that. So I think at a minimum is just giving people access, secure access to these tools so they can start using it and getting familiar with them. Then you can start to really build these more complex implementing AI within the organization for your customers, into your solutions. Those are the kind of the stepping stones. But if you don't give people access and don't give them, I mean, these tools are very powerful. Um, you're kind of hindering.
So give them the hammer, ask them to go for the small
Right.
nails first.
Yeah. Yeah. You start with writing emails, start with preparing presentations, start with creating a small agent to do a weekly task that you need done. You'll be impressed by how quickly people will start to adopt that, share ideas, come together with new ideas, and then it's really easy to build upon from there.
I'm just gonna take just a few more minutes of your time with the closing question. So if say we were having this conversation 3 years from now, what do you hope, not predict, hope would change for CoPoint and its clients?
We'll be much further along. A lot of companies we should be past this adoption phase and moved on to most companies have adopted it, have some sort of implementation. We've really started to harness. I mean, just like you go back to e-commerce websites in the past, now everybody's got that, and you can really start to differentiate yourself as a company and in using these tools versus just everybody's doing the same thing. Um, I hope that we still keep the human in the loop and we're still utilizing people for their experience and their skills. And AI just enhances that. Hopefully, we get rid of a lot of the monotonous jobs and give people a lot more purpose and focus on things that are a lot more valuable to organizations. It's tough to predict where things will ultimately go, and a lot can change in 6 months versus 3 years. But I think, we've got to keep personal connection. We got to keep individual thought, keep us unique in our jobs. And hopefully AI, just like I said, just enhances what we do versus takes it away.
And I hope in 3 years you would still be eyeing on everything that you ship.
Yeah, exactly. Keeping an eye on everything you do is going to be very important for us.
All right. All right. That's the time, Justin. Thank you so much for
Okay.
being with.
Yeah. Thanks. I appreciate it.